Welcome back to another edition of the Sundown series. And as y'all can see, there is something slightly different with the title in this particular video. If y'all follow me, you know last week was the last town that I covered for the state of Illinois. I know many of you are very happy about that, which means now we have entered into another state. If y'all did not catch the last Sundown series video that I did, I said that was the last one was going to be in for Illinois, and that we will be moving to a new state, and that state is none other than Indiana, which is not far off from Illinois, but it is a different state in its entirety. So the first town we will be covering in Indiana is a town called Bluffton. It says Bluffton is a city in Harrison and Lancaster Townships, Wells County, in the U.S. state of Indiana. The population was 9,897 at the 2010 census. The city is the county seat of Wells County. It says Bluffton was named for the river bluffs near the original town site. The Bluffton post office has been in operation since 1839. Bluffton is one of the first towns in Indiana and across America to both publicly acknowledge its history of exclusion as a sundown town and to promote itself as an inclusive town. In 2006, Bluffton was featured in USA Today as an inclusive town that was putting up welcoming, inclusive signs at all local schools, as well as the entrances of 3 state highways. Now look at that. It says Bluffton was one of the first towns in Indiana to be known as a sundown town for the entire state. So we already starting off on the wrong foot. But that's kind of the point of these towns, so we could learn a bit about their history. Mayor Ted Ellis was noted in the article for his helping Bluffton become one of the first to join the National League of Cities partnership for working toward inclusive communities. As of the 2010 census, there were 9,897 people, 4,112 households, and 2,585 families living in the city. The population density was 1,202.6 inhabitants per square mile. The racial makeup of the city was 96% white, 0.7% African American, 0.4% Native American, 0.5% Asian, 1.3% of other races, and 1.1% from 2 or more races. Hispanic and Latino of any race were 3.3% of the population. Their population, you know what's so crazy? Out of all the sundown towns that I have covered so far, there's the only town so far that has increased in population size over the years. You know, some of them started off low and are still low, or they started off low, had a bit of a hike in population, but then they dropped again. This is the only town that literally increased in size every 10 years based on the census. Because 2010 said 9,897 people. As of right now, the town is now, as of last year, I should say, is 10,147. So they actually just cracked 10,000 people population wise last year since the inception of this city, which was back in 1839. Which also, you know, pretty much lets you know what kind of town and how small that town actually is if it took them that long to get to that size. It says that there were 4,112 households, of which 31.3% had children under the age of 18. 46.9% were married couples living together. 11.3% had a female householder with no husband present. 4.7% had a male householder with no wife present. And 37.1% were non-families. And that's pretty much it right there. Like I said, it's a pretty for this one, this is actually considered large for a sundown town, or for what used to be a sundown town. And like I said, they're one of the few towns, if not only town so far that I've covered, that actually increased in population size rather than decreased or did not see any growth at all. So their population is actually moving forward rather than moving backwards or not moving at all. But that pretty much concludes this edition of the Sundown series. Again, we are now in a new state. I actually counted up how many towns is in Indiana that we'll be covering, and let's just put it this way: we'll be here for a while, but not as long as we were for Illinois. I'll just leave it at that.